Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another development blog by Wargaming in which they come up with the new European battleships, and that's right, they're going to have surveillance radar. Yes, a battleship line that gets the surveillance radar, which is kind of insane, a time-based engine boost which I would like to talk about, and then we also going to get the Commonwealth unique commander, which by the way does have kind of similar, I would say, talents like you find on the Kuznetsov, along with other perks which I would like to explain if you want to know more about these ships, as well as some new premium ships as well. By the way, if you are new to the channel and if you want to get more information and related news like these ones, along with the gameplay and other related stuff for this game, be sure to hit a like, subscribe, because I always make every day almost World of Warship videos and you can get a lot of value and it should be helpful for you to know about these things. So let's start talking about with the new European battleships. So first of all, these new European battleships will start from tier 4 all the way to tier 10, because I mean this is the entirely new line for European, so they will be getting a start from tier 4 all the way to tier 10, which is Thor. I will explain it later, but the standout capabilities, what Wargaming has said here, that they will have an array of armament and equipment to tip the balance of battle in their favor, instead of going all in on the big guns, which means that these are smaller caliber guns. I look at the Montana and the caliber basically feels similar for even these European battleships. So basically Montana like caliber, or I would say the Conqueror like caliber, and even low gun count, which in this case at tier 10 you will have 9 guns. But however, they are going to get their standout performance by their great ballistics, and also having, I would say, the torpedo armament. So it will have a lot of torpedoes at tier 10 most likely. Even at lower tiers you will also see quite some torpedoes. As you can see, from tier 8 onward, their torpedoes will become more powerful in terms of speed, damage, and even launching angles. And by the way, I have checked out the ballistics, and the shell velocity is kinda bonkers. It has 900 meter per second speed of the shells. Now I don't know about the crop values or the other very important values to basically help me to know the penetration numbers. We will eventually find out, but the initial shell velocity of these guns are absolutely bonkers, so most likely going to have good penetration at long ranges. Another feature that Wargaming has given to these European battleships is very good detection for their ship type, as well as time-based emergency engine power consumable that will start from tier 5. So yeah, I see recently Sibir getting time-based heal, and then the Burrows line, the recent American destroyer line, that's also getting that time-based smoke, and now we are seeing the time-based emergency engine power consumable. So I know it is very powerful, the time-based I would say mechanics, because you have a lot of control over the consumable without fearing of the cooldown time. Like if you want to have the full speed boost to be utilized at the start of the game, you can absolutely do that. You don't need to fear of that cooldown time unless you press the on button and then off button once again to just turn it off to save it for the later part. But usually this time-based emergency engine power, or at least time-based consumables that Wargaming coming up with, will be a lot much more better and sort of giving a power creeping feeling for the older, I would say, high cooldown time on maybe the heals or also maybe on the engine boost. So this is sort of straight up better thing for this whole line, European battleship. But however, they have given small HP pool, but they will going to have a good armor. Again, we don't know the numbers. Will they get like maybe 50mm side plating, deck plating, or maybe even better than that? We will eventually find out. Usually it should be around 50mm. If they really give like 60mm thickness like you find on Kremlin, then it will become pretty insanely tanky. So yeah, they will also going to get these surveillance radar, which I don't think so you need surveillance radar on these battleships. Like seriously, to basically justify this whole low count, low caliber guns. I mean, there is a Montana out there, okay? Yes, it does have more HP. then maybe comparatively to Thor, which is the tier 10 upcoming new European battleship. Yeah, I mean, Montana also have low caliber, but it does not have that shell velocity, which they are giving it to be crazy, and also the surveillance radar. That is pretty nuts, but we will eventually see the stats. I don't know, at some point, we will eventually see everything that we need to know, but here are the ships itself. At tier 4, we have the Yavuz Sultan Selim. I hope I didn't mispronunciate the name again. I apologize if I did the mistake, but yeah, you can see here we have to tier 4. I'm not going to go into the stats for the tier 4, like, typical. You do have a lot of guns, 283mm guns. You do have torpedo tubes at tier 4, which I would say is very nice for a battleship. Or I would say a battle cruiser, because it's a battle cruiser line, to be honest. They don't have a lot of HP to begin with, but still kinda reminds me of the Schlieffen in terms of the HP pool. So you do have the heals as well, which again typical for tier 4 battleship. And then by the way, tier 5 and tier 6, they have said that the images and the stats will be available later on, so we cannot see it right now. But at tier 7, now it starts to make a bit more sense. Now you can see you have 8 guns, 350mm HE shells. You do have airstrikes. You do have torpedo tubes that do a lot of damage, by the way. Like 18,000 damage is very good. The detection of the drops are pretty good. The secondary armament, well, they haven't said anything about the secondaries, whether they will be useful or not, but I'm sure that they might not be. But as you can see, the concealment is 13.1, which means that it can go down to around maybe less than 12 kilometer if you use the concealment expert at tier 7. Well, that's going to be pretty nice, to be honest. You do have really good concealment in Battleship. And then we are going to get the emergency engine power. The total usage time is only going to be 90 seconds, but it's still pretty good. As you can see, minimum usage time is 15 seconds, so you have to use 15 seconds before you can tap it off. But you are having a full control over that 90 seconds. Again, something that is still going to be useful, at least if I compare it with the Montana line or the Colorado line. Well, Colorado at tier 7 is the slowest battleship. My goodness, man, I have really rough time playing with that ship. Even though it's not bad with its guns, you can make it work, but it's way better than that. You do have lower calibers, sure, but you do have the speed, which I kind of like more than I would say the Colorado line itself. Then we have the European battleship Inheton, I guess. Yeah, it should be Inheton, because the G should be silent or something like that. I'm sure that I might be making a mistake here, but this is a tier 8. Now, initial impressions by looking at this ship is just kind of funny to see that superstructure. By the way, there are a lot of Reddit memes around there with this superstructure, which I will show you right now. As you can see, this is the tier 9 variant of that European battleship, and look at that superstructure, dude. What is this superstructure? My god. What? What is this? I can't help myself, man. This is really funny. Oh my goodness, what is this superstructure? Honestly, a couple of comments really make me like chuckle so much. It's a Nike. Yeah, okay. There's like the best comment I would say is this: finally my Zetel looks good. Even the Zetel looks good. Yeah, this is crazy, man. This looks pretty damn ugly, to be honest, if you ask me. I don't know, is that a kit bash of something? You can let me know in the comments. What do you think about this superstructure? It's definitely hilarious to watch, but I guess they are at least adding the European battleship line, to be honest, which is still good. But yeah, so this is the tier 8. Jokes aside, we do have 54,700 HP. So again, battle cruiser levels of HP. We have now 381mm guns, which means you can overmatch 25mm at least. Okay range, but you started to see more torpedoes, 17.5k damage, which is, I would say, pretty nice, right? And then you do also have decent concealment, 13.8. Again, you can go down like around 12 kilometer or something like that. And then you also have the repair party, the DCP, the radar. Now at tier 8 onwards, you are going to have 30 freaking seconds of radar. Now that is, honestly, I think this is a bit too much, man. Why radar? I don't know. I look the Montana at the corner, I look the Conqueror. Yes, they do have really good guns, but I mean, these guns still are, apparently will perform better than those lines like the Montana or Conqueror that I was constantly comparing it with. Like they have, the Wargaming basically said that they have something special with the guns in terms of maybe the penetration, the shell velocity. You will eventually see this. This is the initial AP shell velocity for tier 8. At tier 10, you will see like bonkers amount of speed. And even then, they are going to have the emergency engine power, surveillance radar, a lot of gimmicks to kind of compensate for this new line, which is, I don't know. Like I look at the Montana once again, Conqueror at the corner. And by the way, they're supposedly having good armor. Wargaming basically said about these ships that they're also going to have good armor. Yes, they don't have really good HP, but again, it reminds me of the line at tier 9. Yes, it does have super heal and all that stuff, but it does not have the radar. Yes, it does have the super heal. HE shells are really good, but these are not too bad. Again, it's a tier 8. We will eventually see at tier 9 it will be a bit more better. And this is the Gustav Den Store. What is that name? That's why, someone come up with this meme, Gustav von Department Store. Like, come on, man. This, I don't know. When I see and look at this ship in the port, my port, that would be even more hilarious. And someone said that already, like, the Zeton looks better. Finally, it looks so good. And then, last but not least, we have the European battleship Thor at tier 10 again. Kind of slightly better superstructure. Like, this superstructure seems pretty weird. Honestly, ugly, not gonna lie. But yeah, whatever it is, we still have to, get them in the port. Obviously, these are the newest European battleships. Alright, let's come to the tier 10, because this will exactly tell us that what are the real numbers that we are looking at, or I would say what are the main gimmicks. At tier 10, we will going to see those bread and butter of that particular nation, or the flavor that Wargaming has given to them. And if we take a look at the numbers, we going to have 72,700 HP, slightly better than Schlieffen. I would say kind of equivalent to that of Bourgogne and Alsace class, which is French tier 9 and tier 10. So, not too bad considering they have heals. They do have so many other things going for it. Now you do have 406mm guns. The tier 9 one has 381. It has 406, so definitely now you can overmatch. Again, the same thing, at least when we take a look at the Iowa and Montana class, or the Lion, which obviously the American and the the British ones, they have higher calibers. But then eventually at tier 10, you basically have similar. So Thor will be the standout ship in my opinion, because now you can overmatch 27. You do have 21.7 kilometer range, which is pretty decent. And I mean, these are battle cruiser lines, so that range can be better, but it's not too bad. And then you have really good AP 13.6k, which is, I would say, slightly better than Montana. And the initial AP shell velocity is something that everyone talks, even in the Reddit, that it has really good penetration. Like I'm not going to say really good penetration. We don't know the Krupp values. We don't know the air drag values. So at some point, once we know those things, we will eventually see the penetration number. But it looks pretty solid, 900 meter per second. Yeah, that is definitely onto the higher side. You do have 30 seconds of reload time, and then you have airstrikes. Obviously, we have now 16 torpedoes, 8 on each side, which again deal pretty good damage. Now I believe these might be the torpedoes taken from Dalarna, right? Because 17,500 damage torpedo, I have seen that damage number onto those, I would say, destroyers. And they also have 70 knots of speed. If I'm not wrong, these might be the torpedoes taken directly from the Dalarna. I don't know. I'm just really thinking like this, but these torpedoes are really high damaging, really good range. And these are the secondary armaments. What about the anti-air? And to be honest, the anti-air numbers are not too bad. Well, you do have very good... Okay, I have to say one thing. You have somewhat decent long-range continuous air damage. 399. That is not bad. I haven't seen like really good damage numbers in terms of the long-range anti-defense continuous damage per second. But they have almost 400. I mean, with the flag, with the AA flag, you will have more than 400, and then you will eventually get it to 500 with the help of the flag. So these are actually, I'm not gonna lie, these are decent continuous AA damage numbers without a doubt for these European battleships that they have given. Okay, then you have the maximum speed 33 knots, which again, if you use the Sierra mic, it will most likely going to get to around 35 knots, and then with the brisk and then with the emergency engine power, you can already see this is gonna go more than 40 knots. That is kinda crazy, man. Oh my goodness. We do have the radar. 30 seconds, we do have only 2 charges, which can be increased to 3. Yeah, should be increased to 3. No, by the way, sorry. Didn't realize it. It does not. The battleship line, or at least the battleship class, does not have the superintendent, so you will only going to get 2 charges, but still you do have 2 charges to take down enemy destroyers, which again, something very valuable for a battleship itself, considering you do have really high caliber guns, 406 millimeters. So I would say it's still pretty impressive. And then you do have the radar, the DCP. It does have 15 seconds of radar, so no gimmick around it like the American DCP or something like that. Pretty much standard that you also find on the British or I would say on the Germans. So pretty much same. And now if we take a look at the surface detection, this can definitely go down to around, I would say 11 point something kilometer, or at least 12 kilometer, which tells me that this is gonna be having a really good concealment for a battle cruiser, without a doubt. I did not exactly know the numbers. Maybe you can just check out by just applying 2 times the concealment expert from the captain skills and upgrades, and you will eventually see that the number will definitely gonna go down quite a lot, around 12 kilometer or maybe even lower than that. Seems to be looking very impressive. Looks very good. Like they have tried to give a lot of gimmicks to kind of justify this whole line, which I'm not exactly sure is the right direction. But I really hope that they just take out the radar. You don't need a radar. You do have the emergency engine, but you do have so many other tools like the torpedoes, 12 kilometer range, decent entire defense, to be honest. It's better than many other battleships, at least at tier 10. So this is not bad. And by the way, I haven't talked about the guns. You look at the Alpha, looks pretty good. The AP Alpha looks good. Penetration numbers, we will eventually find out. It does not have, I would say, battle cruiser dispersion, but still 1.8 Sigma seems to be pretty good. We will see the real penetration numbers eventually. And then we also going to have some premium ships, like in this case we're going to get Turgot, Race. Now this battleship is interesting. I have looked the numbers, and well, it does have, I think, 7 guns, 3 guns. It has 3 turret layout at the back and 2 turrets on the front. So you have 7 guns, 18.5 kilometer range. Look at the alpha damage, look at the fire chance. That is significantly improved, right? And obviously at tier 8 you're getting 419 millimeter guns, so you can overmatch at this tier very easily everything, or at least cruisers, all cruisers. And then we have really good AP Alpha. Shell velocity is not exactly like the tier 10, so that's one thing. But here comes the interesting part. It does have a really significantly high reload time, and having battle cruiser dispersion with 1.9 Sigma. So these guns will do a lot of insane stuff, I can tell you. I don't know about the penetration numbers, but yeah, these numbers look very impressive, because again, battle cruiser dispersion we are talking about. That's why they have given significantly high reload time. I don't know, we will eventually see. Then we have the airstrikes, then we have the torpedoes. Now torpedoes is not the star of the thing, or I would say the star of the show for this ship. They have already said that it's basically having more powerful 419 millimeter guns with the unusual layout, and then it relies more on the main guns, which again is my thing. I like the main guns and power. This is something that I would like more than torpedoes itself. Torpedoes, in my opinion, are not super reliable. You cannot rely on them, but the guns, if someone broadside, you can deal significant damage. And you do have the surveillance radar still, but they have fast reloading radar at this premium. So we look at the radar, 15 seconds, 10 kilometer, 90 seconds of reload time. Kind of reminds me of the Gdansk. I don't know how Jersey Swirsky is going to work on this, because I don't think so that Jersey Swirsky is going to be super good. You're not getting any buffs on the main battery. Maybe only the torpedoes are going to be getting buff. Yes, if you use the Jersey Swirsky at tier 10, well, it's going to improve the entire air defense numbers more. That's what I can tell for sure. But other than that, I don't know. As you can see, the anti-defense numbers are, you can see here, look, for this premium, you having medium and short range, so it's not impressive compared to the tier 10 for sure. It's okay, but it's not something I would say very interesting. Carriers can drop you easy, no problem for them, because the mid range is only 3.5 compared to the 4 at tier 10, and long range is like pitiful 42. So yeah, the long range, if you get the long range continuous AA damage on any ship, very good. Like in the case of Thor, you actually start to shoot down a lot more planes than any other ship. So it's not having that numbers. Then speed 32 knots. You do have the surveillance radar, but not, by the way, have access to speed boost that you find on that whole tech tree line. Interesting, without a doubt. We will eventually see how they will perform. And then we have the Messina, if I'm not wrong, the Italian cruiser at tier 9, having 902mm guns. And if you take a look at the stats, it does have improved, okay, here's the very interesting part, improved hydroacoustic search with a longer range. How much the range it is? Is it like 6 kilometer? Oh yeah, it's 6 kilometer range. Oh, so it's having 6 kilometer hydro, so kind of reminds me of the Gorizia tier 7. And also have exhaust smoke generator. Now this can be very devastating against destroyers. Like honestly, you can sneak up on them with this exhaust smoke and basically do pretty crazy damage. Do you have tops? You do have torpedoes. They do a lot of damage as well, 20k damage on tops. So you might actually, maybe, I'm not gonna say YOLO or something like that, but still you do have a lot of potential using them in close quarters. At least you can turn out, smoke up and turn out and just send those tops. Maybe push up onto a unsuspected, or I would say the battleship that did not suspect you. You can actually go and just top them by smoking up like this. So can YOLO sometimes like Paolo, but again, I'm a bit too, I would say, optimistic about it. It's not easy, but you do have hydro, which is a big thing. You do have 102mm guns, which by the way have 42mm pen on SAP armor penetration. So you can actually penetrate the side armor of the Montana, right? At tier 10, you will have no problem dealing with the French, the British, the Americans. Yes, the Petros. Oh yeah, by the way, Petros are also vulnerable because of this the upper belt is also very make it like vulnerable for Petro. So decent reload time, and you do have the airstrikes, pretty much typical. And I think that's basically it. I don't think so there's anything else to make it stand out more than, I would say, hydro. Surely hydro is a powerful thing for also having the exhaust smoke, but again we will eventually see what this cruiser will be capable of. And then these are the previously announced ships that they are giving us the permanent camouflages for, so they will look like this. And last but not least, the Commonwealth unique commander. Those are the those were, I would say, pan-European battleship that I have talked about. And these are not pan-European, those are European battleships to be honest. But yeah, these are Commonwealth unique commander. So, I mean, it's gonna benefit the Vampire 2, it's gonna benefit the Irresistible, it's gonna benefit the Brisbane. Many of these Australian Navy type of battleships, you will going to get buffs for sure. Like, most likely I'm gonna put that on Vampire 2 if it's definitely gonna help a lot. So, let's talk about the talents. So, first of all, it will be getting tested in the update 14.10, which again is a thing that will be done. Aircraft carriers. Okay, why they are talking about the aircraft carriers getting the continuous AA damage reduction? Are they really thinking of coming up with the Commonwealth aircraft carrier tech tree line or something like that, or a premium? This always makes me wonder, like, why do you really need the aircraft carrier perks right now, even though we have not gotten a single Commonwealth carrier? So that really makes me think, what wargaming actually cooking? Seriously, what is going on behind the, I would say, at the back of their main office? I kind of wondered that. And then we have the battleship, cruiser, and destroyers. They have improved adrenaline rush skill. So this captain going to have better adrenaline rush skill baked into this commander. And then we also going to have two unique talents, rise and fight again, which again, I was talking about that at the start of the video. that if the if the ship's HP drop to 10%, okay, and then what happens, it will kind of work like Kuznetsov. So it will provide 2% HP per second healing for 5 seconds. So 10% HP that you can get in 5 seconds. So that is a decent buff. You're getting 10% heal once your HP drops to 10%. Now that is not bad. I think the Kuznetsov having 7.5% HP heal in 15 seconds. This will give you more healing, if I'm not wrong. I have to really check out the exact numbers of the Kuznetsov, but at least what I really believe that this has better talent in terms of healing up ship's HP. Now, they have not said, they by the way have not said that it will DCP the fires and floods. Okay, that's what I can clearly see. If it's not DCPing anything else, that's where it might have, you know, a bit of a worse talent going compared to the Kuznetsov itself. So, you know, Kuznetsov have definitely that DCP and all that stuff kicks in. It repairs everything. So it does not have this thing. And then Traya Juncta in Uno. What is that name? And then it triggers up to 3 times when you deal 60,000 damage. So the same thing that you find on the Conrad Helfrich. If you deal 50,000 damage in the Conrad Helfrich, you will get the buff on the Alpha, on the guns, main battery guns, on the HE and AP shell. So in this case, it will have the maximum speed increased by 2% and the consumable duration by 5%. So yeah, that's gonna really help a lot, that Vampire 2. And even maybe the Brisbane gonna get a lot of value. So your consumable duration by 5%. Damn. If you get like, if you deal like 180,000 damage, you will have 15% increase in consumable duration. But I mean, it's gonna be late game. 180k damage on Brisbane is gonna be pretty much late game, because I'm thinking about the radar. Your radar can go as much as 26 seconds, so it can go up to 30 plus seconds with that much duration, 15%. So yeah, ooh, ouch, man, that's a decent buff to Brisbane, man. And also the Vampire 2 will love this a lot because you have more speed. And by the way, more healing. Like, getting Vampire 2 a heal is really nice, honestly. Wow. Yes, you don't get the DPM buff or something like that with main battery guns, but again, these are really good. Like, by the way, you are going to get some value from the Adrenaline Rush. So, not bad. And then the rarity, they are testing the Command de Aguirre, and they have basically announced it to be uncommon. Kind of like the Severe. Eventually, we will see this ship at some point in future. And that's basically what the dev blog looks like. I hope I cleared up everything that you need to know about these new ships and the Commonwealth Uni Commander. What do you think about new European battleships? What do you really think about the superstructures, especially for this tier 9? That seems to be really, it really cracked me up, man. When I looked at this yesterday, when they have, you know, when they were talking about this in stream, I was seriously cracked up, man. Oh my god, I was literally dead watching this superstructure. But let me know, what do you think about the Thor? Would you really looking forward to these ships? I'm looking forward. I want to see the penetration numbers. If they have really insane penetration numbers, I'm genuinely gonna be really sad for Montana. Like, seriously, I was not a happy guy to look at the Montana or maybe the battleships like that are like really simple by their design. Yes, they have really decent HP. They heal back a bit more. A lot, by the way, but still they have a lot of gimmicks, especially fighting against destroyers. That is really big gimmick, to be honest. You have 2 charges as well for 30 seconds, so you can have 2 salvos for sure onto a destroyer. So, you know, what do you think about these ships? And also the Commonwealth Legendary Commander. Let me know. Take care, guys, and peace out.